everybody. My name is Ellen Goodwin. I'm the co-founder of Artifacts. I'm happy to see everyone signing in. As you sign in, Thomas and I would love to know where you're coming from. So please pop into chat and say hello and let us know where you are tonight.
Hello, everyone. Thomas MacEntee here, and I am honored to be here, and we're going to have some fun and hopefully learn something tonight. So Ellen, wait until I'm ready to make me a host. That's fine.
Giving Thomas some superpowers this evening.
That's all right. I promised Ellen I would use them for good and not evil. So yeah, too early in the night to be evil. So
he's doing too.
My mother always said, I don't know if you find trouble or trouble finds you. I was always in trouble.
And for some reason, it is saying that chat is disabled, which we had
okay.
tested.
Yeah.
And so that's fine, folks. Use the Q&A and we'll make it work.
Okay, good.
Zoom has been doing a fun update this evening, and we don't know why. Yeah. So we will run with it.
Yeah, I have a feeling, just so folks know, there was a Zoom update, of course, today, and we think that it reset all the settings to the default under the admin account. And I used to admin several Zoom accounts, and you know what it's like, Ellen. It's frustrating. Fabulous. Yeah. Why didn't it remember? So
we appreciate your resiliency in shifting to Q&A.
Yeah, that's great. So great.
Oh, Michigan. Hi, Michigan.
Oh, I know where Alpina is. Hello, Nikki Sue. Nikki Sue's one of my followers. Kristen, there is a handout, but we'll let it, right, Ellen? We'll post that later.
Yep, we'll post that later. We have a couple that we'll be sending your way.
Right.
I lived in DC for a long time.
Oh, I went to GW. Did you know that, Ellen?
That's right.
Yeah, I was there from back when the Earth was warm. My freshman year was 1980. I was there when Reagan got shot. Secret Service was on my dorm roof. In March of 1981, yeah. And I graduated in 84, and then I worked for the Department of Agriculture for 2 years. So, yeah.
I worked for some acronyms as well, but not USDA.
yeah, the alphabets. So.
Alphabet soup.
Yeah. Well, there is something we say in genealogy during Roosevelt, FDR. Everything was, WPA, all of these acronyms, CCC, Conservation Corps, and Civilian Conservation Corps. But they've got great records. That's what a lot of people don't know, especially CCC. So, it's the alphabet soup.
See, you already got a tip this evening just by joining.
Good.
Oh, Tomah, Wisconsin. I am from Wisconsin. I'm from De Pere.
Oh, so you did you grow up in Wisconsin?
I did grow up in Wisconsin.
We call it behind the cheese curtain. That's what we call it. So, you cross over and it says fireworks, cheese curds, and brats. That's what the signs say. Am I right?
That's true. You missed polka, but
Yeah.
We'll
the thing is, we pass through Wisconsin. We stop at the world's largest culvers every summer on our way to the Minnesota State Fair in August. So
I went to school with the son of the former CEO. He passed away of Culver's. So we have Culver's here in Austin, Texas. I see someone here from Central Texas. I'm in Austin.
We don't have any in Palm Springs, but there now for the snowbirds, there are 2 in Phoenix and 1 in Tucson. So I think there'll be a Culver's here soon.
Oh, you're just willing it to happen.
Yeah, I know. But I'm kind of ticked off because they switched from Pepsi products to Coke. Being a New Yorker, I'm a Pepsi guy. And so just like Laverne and Shirley, I grew up with Pepsi and milk as a drink.
I know of that show for sure. Yes, that's your baby boomer in you coming out, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. So.
Right. Well, folks, we're at the top of the hour. We're going to continue this chit chat. It's going to be a lot of fun tonight. I'm so glad you're here. For those of you who are just signing in, I'm Ellen Goodwin. I'm the co-founder of Artifacts. And joining me tonight is Thomas MacEntee. He's going to do great justice to all things technology and genealogy. If you're new to Artifacts, if you're new to Evenings with Artifacts, welcome. Welcome to all of our folks who do tend to come each week. This is our second time doing this series. We did a 9-week series in the fall. You can check it out online. And this spring, we're doing a 5-week series. We kicked off last week on the theme of spring cleaning and minimalism living with 7 kids underfoot with Matt Paxton and Zoe Kim. It was hilarious. Please check it out. Tonight, obviously, we're talking genealogy, and the forecast for next week is photos, and we have a lot of them, and what are we going to do with them? And so I think that's a great crossover actually with genealogy folks as well, who are trying to make sure they capture the stories behind family photos and the histories. So with no further ado, let me introduce Thomas, do him slight justice, because I will tell you he has a very robust and hilarious resume too. He says, I'm a baby boomer guy with a love of punk rock music, but also art history, who fell into the technology industry 40 years ago. He left a lucrative IT career to pursue his love of family history and genealogy. I think you all know what that's like. And technology and historical research, he says, are opposites, but tech people like him are needed to, in fact, guide genealogists through this maze of options that you can deploy and the best apps and devices to break through those research brick walls that we all hit. It's really hard. Technology is ever shifting underneath us. Thomas is an author, an educator, an advocate, entrepreneur, and simply that genealogy guy who helps you accomplish your family history goals. Thomas, welcome to Evenings with Artifacts.
Thank you so much, Ellen. I appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and let's see here. Perfect. And I'm going to go into slideshow mode. Will you just confirm that you can see my slides?
You're good to go.
Great, thank you. I really appreciate your help, and you will post some of the links as we go on, so I appreciate you. And I want to welcome everyone to Evening with Artifacts. I am Thomas MacEntee. Usually I say I'm from Chicago, where many are cold but few are frozen, but guess what? I'm in Palm Springs for the next 2 months. And the funny thing is, it snowed in Chicago on Monday morning when I was leaving. We had 80 degrees the whole week before, but you know, I was saying to someone here in Palm Springs, we cannot plant plants in the ground until Mother's Day. That's how cold it is in Chicago. So we're going to get started. A little bit of an introduction. I mean, many of you know me. Ellen did a great intro. If you don't know me, we will post a little bit of a bio and a ways to connect with me at the end. But the thing is, let's talk a little bit about technology. Especially future-proofing your technology. Ellen and I discussed this, and this is really what's important. If you don't take anything out of this presentation tonight, this is what I want you to remember, is if you're not familiar with the term future-proofing, this is my definition in terms of how it pertains to technology. It's ensuring your current technology is periodically reviewed to determine its continued effectiveness. You have to upgrade technology so that your genealogy research is accessible to you. That's the important part. And hold on a minute, let me get here. I have to move things around, and others in the future. So what I'm talking about, if you're still on Windows XP, folks, oh my gosh, you know that's not supported anymore. Did you also know that Windows 10 will stop being supported? So we'll talk about Windows 11. The other thing is, my father-in-law, who's almost 92, God bless him, still uses 3.5-inch floppy disks. Remember those? But the thing is, eventually, they're not going to sell the equipment so that you can read them. So the thing is, I'll talk about this, but one thing that I'm really, that's important, it can be expensive to update technology. I am not a .0 guy. What I mean is, let's say Legacy comes out with version 10.0. I never upgrade to a .0. I always wait for a .1. If you wait for a .1, the thing is, all the bugs get fixed. So now is the time for you to update to Windows 11. It's been out for, I think, about 18 months. And eventually, you'll find that these things are not supported. And this is what you'll be left with. You'll be left with, like those 3.5-inch floppy disks, going to a service that will convert them for you at a very expensive price. Right now, the going rate to convert a 3.5-inch floppy into a files that you can download is $20. So keep that in mind. Also, for those people that remember Betamax for videos, things like that, that's what we're talking about. So let me get started here. And this is what we're talking about. This is how you can future-proof all of your information. Take inventory, determine what you have. This includes your hard copy assets as well as your digital assets, and don't forget online. As baby boomers, we're leaving a digital footprint. Now, funny thing is, I have a binder at home for my husband. It's called What If Thomas Gets Hit by a Bus? And it has in it all my login information, all the sites. It has all my Greek food recipes. It has everything so that basically there's, you know, my family can get to everything. And that would be great. And a lot of us put that off. We don't want to. We keep kicking that can down the road. Also, make sure you include in estate planning. You can create a codicil. There should be a link in the handout, a genealogy codicil to your will with instructions. Because I know if I didn't have this, my family would have a great big bonfire out in front of my house and burn everything that I've accumulated. I've been doing this 45 years since I was a 15-year-old boy. So the thing is, don't leave it to your family because they're not going to understand what's in there. The other thing is back up your data. Back up your genealogy data. It's a great habit. It also keeps all your information in one place. I'm a big proponent of the 3-2-1 backup. 3 different backups. Oops, 3 different backups. 2 different media, meaning you can't do 3 USB drives or 3 solid state drives. You want to maybe have different media. And also one of those backups has to be in the cloud or physically somewhere else. So example, if you had a solid state drive, you could put it on that and maybe put it in a safety deposit box or put it in a fire safe. There's no sense in having your one backup on a USB flash drive right where your laptop is. Because what if you have a fire or it floods? You lose the laptop, you lose the backup. Also, preserve non-digital and digital items. Don't forget, CD-ROMs, those disks, that coating can degrade over time. It's estimated 5 to 10 years. Negatives in movie film can fade and fall apart, especially, I've had a problem. I had print photos and I had negatives on top, and there was chemically, it damaged the photos. Transfer those items to digital as soon as you can. Also, have that conversation with family. Be clear about where your genealogy research is, why it's important, what you want done with it. In fact, I'm a big proponent of I donate stuff now to the Newberry Library, to the Allen County Public Library in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I've even gone so far as to donate some photographs, and I print it out. I have it printed at Walgreens or CVS, and I put that in the frame. I don't need the original. You know, I can't take that with me. Also, post those items online. Consider starting a blog. Did you know that blogs can be private? I have a blog for my food recipes. I have a blog for my family history. And use social media as you feel comfortable. Also, is your family tree on Ancestry? You can make it private, but make sure it's somewhere where it is online. Do your stuff now. Okay, tell your own stories now. If you don't tell your own story, someone's going to write that story for you. Also, write that genealogy book now. You don't have to wait until your research is done. We're not talking War and Peace here. And also interview those family members now. Start with your oldest family member and work your way down. So that's the intro. I'm going to go through a few questions that have come in, and then we're going to open up to Q&A. So if you want to use a Q&A now and you have some questions, Ellen hopefully will be able to go through them and field them. I can't promise that we'll get to everything. I may actually tell you to email me because it's too long of a response, or I might need to do some research. But let's go here. So upgrading to Windows 11. I don't know how many of you have not upgraded yet. It's one of those things, and I know some of you still have Windows XP or ME, or what is it? Yeah, something like that. Windows 8 was a stinker. I will tell you, Windows 11 is better. So should I upgrade my computer to Windows 11? I received a notice about the upgrade. It was also for an update to Windows 10. Is the notice legit? The notice is legit if it comes through your settings dialog. If you get an email, I never click on links in email. It's a great way to have problems. So my saying is, if it's true, I'll go to the app and I'll get a notification there. So the answer is yes. So I have a Dell desktop at home and a Lenovo laptop. It was nowhere near as painful as Windows 10, and I did not upgrade right away. I waited about 6 months when it came out, and I waited for the .1. Why should we be bug fixers for Microsoft or other companies? Now, this link here is in the handout, so you don't have to, take a screen capture or go there. But this will tell you also whether your computer can upgrade to Windows 11. Be aware that if you've got an older computer with an older operating system, you may not be eligible. And you might want to consider it might be time to get a new computer. So that's really important. Next, virus protection. How many of you have virus protection? Many of you may have something like Norton or McAfee or Kaspersky, or you might be relying upon Windows' own, I think it's Windows Defender or whatever it is. So what is the best software for virus protection, including malware, for Windows-based computer, and either free or fee? Now, this is my recommendation, and this is what I use personally. What I use is, I don't use McAfee or Norton. I find that when I install those products, my computer is always churning. I don't know about you. Intuit products do the same thing. I don't understand that. They take up a lot of resources. Even with 16 gigabytes of RAM on my laptop here, I just find that it's a heavy install. So what I'm using is, I was using Avast, A-V-A-S-T, and I upgraded to Premium, which was probably, you can get a deal. They have a deal out there probably for $29.99 a year. And it does everything. And it's not a heavy install. And it doesn't interrupt with a lot of updates. So there's an offer there. I believe if you use the link that's in the handout, you will be able to get a good deal on this. Genealogy software for Mac. Mac users and genealogy are like the ugly redheaded stepchild. And I try and point out Mac resources as often as I can with technology. So what's the best overall genealogy software program to use with the Mac? So there are a few that are out there. The first thing I want to warn you about is, I tell my followers, never go out to Google and say Mac genealogy review or blank review, because what happens is there are a lot of paid sites that they paid to be pushed up to the top of Google results, and they only accept reviews from companies that pay them. So it's a gamed system. So go back there and look for review sites that are solid. And these are my recommendations. I always trust CNET reviews. CNET reviews is solid. They do not take compensation. They do affiliate links, but for the review itself, they're honest. I'll give you an example. For a password manager, LastPass, LASTPASS, used to be the holy grail. Well, they had a hack. Someone hacked into their site last November, but they didn't tell users till January. Boom, they went off the CNET list. And that's how serious CNET takes that information. So they are a solid place. So I always go there. If I want a printer, a scanner, anything, I go to CNET reviews and I do a search. And you want to look for the latest review. The other one is GenSoft Reviews. A lot of people don't know that site. Let me see if I can go there right now through the miracle of the internet. And there it is. And they basically will go through and tell you their latest reviews and what they recommend. This is something I actually know let's see if we can get back here. I know the man that runs that. He was a competitor at the Roots Tech Innovator incubator that we had a few years ago. And so that is a solid site. Those are the two sites that I recommend. Now, this is probably, I'm going to take a little bit of liquid here because I'm in, and it is only Coke Zero, or Pepsi, Diet Pepsi. Hold on.
And while Thomas does that, I'll pop in. We will post links at the end to some of the handouts that Thomas is referring to, so don't fear.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Ellen. So this is one that you may not have heard about as a Mac user. It's called Herodis. It's out of France. And again, I know the CEO and the developers, they're really great people. The product is amazing. They do have a Windows version, but it is probably the best Mac version right now. Lots of bells and whistles. They have a great free version that you can use as well. So check it out. And you can just search for Herodis Genealogy, but we will have the link as well. Now, choosing genealogy database software. So besides here it is for Mac users, what would you do? What would you consider? What are you using? Are you looking to change, or are you just getting started with genealogy? Now, what we're talking about is a database software that's usually either online or local to your computer, where you can enter events and facts, build a tree, maybe even publish a book. It depends on what program that you're using. So what I do is remember my caution about review sites. Did you know that Wikipedia has a great comparison of genealogy software? It's always up to date. It's always reliable. Let's take a look. And just by the way, if you want to compare anything, like maybe cloud data storage programs, just go to Wikipedia. Just type comparison and whatever you're looking for. And this will go through and it will show you what the latest release is. Does it have a free version? One of the ones that I like, and I'm sort of biased here, is Legacy Family Tree. They have a free version. I like Roots Magic as well, because Roots Magic is very clean and simplified. And then if you want to upgrade for bells and whistles, you can. And these are the ones right now. These are actually software programs, folks. These are not like Ancestry with the family tree. So these are actual installs local. But that is my recommendation, is using Wikipedia. You know, some people say that Wikipedia can't be relied upon, and I don't agree. I think the truth really floats to the top. There are a lot of admin and gatekeepers for every topic that they go through. And I would say that you should sign up and create a Wikipedia account and look at the chatter. There's a chatter tab. In fact, let me see if I have it right here. It doesn't show it, but you can view the history. But if I were to log in, it would say talk, T-A-L-K, and I can see what the issues have been about this topic. These are the facts to consider when you pick a genealogy software program. How easy is it to use? If it's got a hard learning curve, hey, forget it. I told Ellen earlier, patience is a virtue I don't have time for. So also, what does it cost? Many people use the free version, and that's fine for them. But the thing is, Roots Magic, I think, and Legacy, the upgrade is as low as $29.99. And that is not our subscription. This is a lifetime thing. Sometimes when you go to a new version, they may have you pay a nominal fee to upgrade. But really, it's quite reasonable. What's the access? Is it online? Is it a desktop? Does it work on a tablet or a smartphone? It depends on how you use programs. For me, there's got to be an online version because I'm usually on the road or I'm traveling here or there. Oops. And then what are the features? What is important to you? Does it have to have a family tree component? Does it do source citations? Does it have a template for that? You know, can it draw a chart and then can I send it to a place to have it printed? So those are the 4 areas that you really need to look at. I get this question all the time, document scanners. I'm looking for a document scanner, one that will scan entire files as one PDF. Now, this is my recommendation right now. I really recommend the Epson Perfection V as in Victor 600. It is hard to get a hold of. Ever since COVID, let's see if it's sold out. Oh, it is available. The price is $299. It will do legal size paper, but guess what? It also will do, let's see here. It should show me, hold on. Yeah, it also does photos. It has these templates right here. You know, it will do negatives and slides besides photos. So it has these templates that you can use. Let me go back here, and I apologize for the confusion. Let's go back to that. There it is, and I'll come off of that. But the nice thing is that it does all of that. It does film, it does negative. Guess what? It even does 4, remember those little brownie type photos? There were maybe 3 inches across and 4 inches. I can put 4 of them on the scanner, and guess what? It will create 4 different files. I don't have to crop and edit. So this is the one, this is a workhorse, folks. It is not wireless. It does not take a USB drive or a memory card. It is just plain and simple, hardwired to your computer. But this is just the one that I rely upon and I use all the time. So that's my recommendation. Oh, setting up a second monitor. Now, to be honest, I don't use a second monitor. I just don't, because it's one of those things that just confuses me. But I could understand how someone might want their legacy family tree software on one monitor, and maybe they're over at the Ancestry or MyHeritage and they're pulling up a document. I get it. So how do you set up a second monitor to use when you're doing genealogy research or whatever you want to do? It can be very difficult. It depends on the type of computer you're using, depends on the type of monitor. If you have an older computer, it's probably not easy. First, you have to make sure that you're using the latest versions of Windows or Mac OS. I hate to say it. And then also make sure your existing computer can accommodate a second monitor. When I bought my new Dell desktop, guess what? There was no serial port. Even this laptop I'm working on, they're so thin now that I had to buy extra cables. And I didn't realize that. So those are the two things you need to check on. Then the other thing is, I have two articles that'll be in the handout. CNET, again, to the rescue. They have a great YouTube video. You know, the millennials now, they don't like to read a manual or a quick sheet. They want to see a video. It's called Just-in-Time Training. So this is a good one. Also, Popular Science, you remember that magazine? They have a great article on how to set up a second monitor. You can print it out and go through it step by step. File management. This one came out of the blue for me. Printing a list of folders and files. Do you remember DOS? Remember DOS? Yeah, I remember my first PC was in 1984. I worked for the US Department of Agriculture. They threw one on my desk and they said, teach everyone else in your office how to use it, called the Accidental Trainer. And it was easy to print a list of what was on the disk. Remember having to format disks? Yeah. Is there a way or a program that you can print out the names of all the computer files on a drive, as well as the contents of its subdirectories? Well, guess what? This is a great site. Make use of. This is one of my go-to sites because they have solid information for technology. It's in plain English. So I have two links here. 5 ways to print folder and directory contents in Windows. And just so you know, all the links that I'm sharing are up to date. I always check them because technology often changes. And then also make use of 3 ways to easily print out the contents of a directory or folder for Mac. All right. I try and be what we call agnostic when it comes to operating systems and software, meaning that I try not to push one over the other. I try and give you as many options as possible, and I honor and respect my Mac users out there. Okay, Ellen, was that like information overload?
It was really well done.
I hope I'm not. I am on my 3rd Coke Zero today, so I'm a little bit hyper.
Like, how you doing out there in California? You're going pretty fast.
Yeah, I know. So we're here for the open Q&A, and if you want to field them to me, if you want to read them out loud, I will try and answer them.
There was some votes of support I saw for Avast, so I wanted to just say that you have some fans out here as well, falling in love. But I am very curious. Sarah Schneider says she has a clip-on screen attachment that gives her laptop 2 extra screens.
Wow.
I've never heard of such a thing. But Sarah, it would be lovely if you put a link. I am deeply curious.
Yeah, there's also, this is what I discovered. I discovered this on Amazon. It's basically just a mini, it's almost a mini tablet that you plug in and it sets up a second screen like a teleprompter. You know, and the thing is, I usually know my slides blind. I don't need notes or anything. But if you needed something and they only run, they're under $100. That's another one. If you don't need the same size screen, you might want to look for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So one of the questions that I received earlier today, not here in this chat, was actually about it was from someone that's brand new into genealogy, has a family history, has been doing lots of research. And their quandary is, what do they do in terms of sharing that information? Because they're having trouble getting family members to listen up. Right. And so their technology question is more because they can't get their family to log in to take a look at their research in the family tree. Right. Well, so you tell people that are the technology averse people.
Yeah, I have older relatives. I have, my mother is one of 12 kids, and so three of them are still alive. They're not on social media. So the thing is, you have to understand what their capabilities are. And the number one thing is, please respect privacy. So anytime I post a photo of my Aunt Jenny, even of her as a girl, I'm always going to say, and usually her kids will say, oh yeah, I saw, and they'll share it with her. They may even print it out from Facebook. But the thing is, it lets her know. So I think that's paramount, is that you do that. And also, tell people how you're going to use the information. That's one of the biggest barriers. So if I went to, and you should interview your oldest relatives first, if I wanted to sit down and do that and make sure they know what is going to be done with this and respect their limitations and their privacy. Also, when you're done, so if I were to do an audio interview with you, Ellen, I would go ahead and do a transcription and send you the transcription. I would clear it with you as terms of what I can and can't use, and then also always send a thank you note. And don't overpromise. Don't do it because you say you'll get 100 more followers. That's not it. The thing is, you're leaving a legacy as you do genealogy research. Think about it that way. We invest a lot of time and money. I don't know about you, Ellen, but I lie to my family as to how much I spend on genealogy. It's one of those things the husband says, oh, how much do you spend on subscriptions? I'm like, oh, just $200 a year. And it's more like 1,000, And so the thing is, though, yeah, but the thing is, it's an investment. Would you leave your purse or wallet out on the sidewalk? Would you just leave it there? No. So the same thing with what you're doing here. This is why we update our technology. This is why we're going through this. We're not, as much as I love Ancestry, they have gamified genealogy. They make it fun. You build a tree. You're actually working for Ancestry when you think about it. And you're paying a lot of money a year, over $300 a year now. But the thing is, so that's why I'm always a proponent of having your stuff locally on your computer and backing it up. And don't fall into that trap of just, you get online at 10 p.m. You've got your Baileys and cocoa and your bunny slippers, and it's fun. But after 4 hours, what have you done? What have you accomplished? You've gone from hint to hint to hint. No, be dedicated to what you're doing. I think that's the best thing to do. Also, tell them what's possible with the information that they give. But really, you need to put the ball in their court. For DNA, I will tell you, there's a form called informed consent. If you are managing someone's DNA tests, really, you need to have an informed consent form as well. But I think maybe I've over-explained it. What do you think, Ellen? Does that make sense?
No, I think you added a lot of color that makes it very practical.
Yeah.
So that's a good response.
Yeah.
Another question that we have from today, we got several, so I hope you don't mind. Folks, do use the Q&A. If you have questions, hit them. Thomas is here for you, and we want to answer them. I'm just answering some that came in to editor at Artifacts today. So I have a question from a woman who said she was done doing her research. She wanted to export her, oh goodness. Okay, I haven't done this, so you're gonna have to speak to me. She wanted to export her data out of the family tree software she's using, but it's not intelligible.
Okay.
So what's happening here, Thomas?
Well, the thing is, there is a file format called GEDCOM, GEDCOM, which is a default. There's also a new format called GEDCOMX, and usually you export that. Now, you can't usually read a GEDCOM on its own. You have to import it to something else. Like, I would download the free version of Roots Magic, then import the GEDCOM to see what it looks like. Or I would set up a free account at MyHeritage, import the GEDCOM to see what it looks like. And if you don't like it, you can always delete it. Okay. But I'm a big proponent. You should always back up what you're putting online, because the thing is, things change.
Yes.
Remember, whenever you upload personal information, it's your responsibility to know what their terms and conditions are. What are they doing with your information, and what is changed to their privacy policy? So I'm a big proponent. Even DNA test results, first thing I do is download so you have a copy and do that. So that's what I would do. Also, keep in mind, GEDCOM, at least the old GEDCOM, does not download media. So if you've uploaded 1,000 files to Ancestry, guess what? You have to download them individually. That's why I say scan your photos, have a local copy in TIFF format, make a JPEG working, then upload it. Do you see what I'm saying? Because so many people have been burned where, one example, myfamily.com, was run by Ancestry over 10 years ago, and they told people, oh, we're closing down in 90 days. Let me ask you, Ellen, if you do you have an exit strategy? Do you know what you would have to do in 90 days to get your information out? Well, they neglected to tell people that a download of data didn't include JPEGs. Many people lost their photos.
So Thomas, here's what I'd like to say about that.
Sure.
And I want to tell folks, because there's a lot of folks here that don't know Artifacts. This was something that we built into our foundation of our company.
And I love it. I love it.
I know you do. Like, export is a feature that we care a lot about, right? We want you to be able to, in a single click, take it back out in the original format, not compressed.
A usable format, yes.
Something you can use. A useful human-friendly format. And we even have an exit company strategy, right? Like if we were to ever get into that scenario 10, 20, 40, 50 years from now, whatever it is, like we want to know what our exit strategy is.
But also what I like about Artifacts is you honor successorship, data successorship. I can designate a legacy person. More and more places are doing that. Ancestry lets you do that. Google, the unfortunate thing with Google is that person has control now, but Yahoo requires a death certificate for you to even get into someone's email. So this is something we have to think about, and that's why I like Artifacts, because you honor that sense of successorship.
And Thomas, that's something that I wanted to pivot from something you said during your presentation. One of the things that we advocate here too is using a digital vault so that all of this information is in one place, right? And so whether you're using Keyloo or GoodTrust or Trustworthy, any of those, there's a number of great ones out there. Putting that all in one place, including your genealogy research, is really, really important to do. And it can be as simple as setting a reminder and at least doing it once a year, right? But like sending and refreshing, if you can do a sync, a lot of them have a sync option. Like even better, but having that digital vault, because if a house fire hits or a flood or whatever, you don't want to lose it.
I lived through the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake. I was on the 38th floor of Embarcadero, for Embarcadero. After that, I always had a go-to bag. It had family photos, it had sneakers, it had, wind-up radio. And so you start to think that wildfires, floods, hurricanes, it's amazing. So to do that. And also what I personally would do, I'd print it out from Artifacts and then I'd put it in my what if Thomas got hit by a bus binder, just so it's there.
Well, Thomas, we better get on with some of these extra questions.
Sure.
Next one. How do you feel about Evernote?
I like Evernote. I did not renew my premium. I was one of the beta testers when Evernote came out. Their competitor is OneNote by Microsoft. What I don't like about Microsoft, when OneNote came out in 2000, it tried to assimilate all your data into OneNote. They do this, and Microsoft says you will be assimilated. It goes and it looks out for data and it assumes a lot. Let us help you and let's take all this data. I love Evernote. The reason I like it too is they have a very robust third-party developer community developing apps, many of them free to use Evernote. The one problem is Evernote doesn't let you set up a spreadsheet more than I think like 30 rows and things like that. So it's not for everyone. It is great for this. The web clipper is phenomenal. It will clip an article and basically save it. And it's a snapshot, but the links work. So it's great if you're doing research and you're like, oh yeah, I want this, but I don't have time to cite it. Then boom, it does that. Even in the free version, it's got a free version. It has its limitations. I think it used to be 600 megabytes of download a month. So try out the free version, but I'm a big advocate of that. The other one is Google Keep, Keep. But Google, they used to have Google Reader and Google Wave, and poof, those things go away. So I don't know. Google Drive will be around, but Google Keep, they try and enter the market because Evernote is out there and popular, but then they fail and they just give a 30-day notice and boom, you're stranded. But I like Evernote.
They just shut down some devices, so people are a little anxious.
Exactly.
Right now. Yes.
Yeah.
Next question is one for Artifacts. How can we download audio and video from Artifacts as we download text? Is there a best file format? Yes. So when you go to a single artifact or your entire Artifacts collection, I recommend choosing the zip option. It will zip all of your original documents, photos, audio, video, as well as any of the information you added, the title of your artifacts, the stories, all of that into an Excel. So you have it all in one nice zip file that you can take with. Nothing is compressed. No fine print worries there. So there you go. Next up, best tool to view a family tree with none of the branches collapsed. Printing is not necessary. Just want to be able to scroll vertically and horizontally without expanding. This is from Sarah Schneider.
Okay, Sarah. Now, it depends on whether you're talking software installed locally or online. I like MyHeritage because they have a great way to navigate, and they have different ways to navigate to do that. So it really, if you were using local software, go to your settings, because usually it's a default to expand it, but there might be a way for you to turn it off. I'm not, I think that Legacy Family Tree probably is one of the better ones for that, as well as Roots Magic. I'm not a big fan of Family Tree Maker ever since Ancestry sold it a few years ago. I used to be, I remember buying it on Broderbund software. That's how long I've been doing this, or Banner Blue. But I would check out MyHeritage, the free version. Now, keep in mind, they're free for up to 200 people on your tree. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll just make a dummy tree, and I'll add maybe two levels and see what it looks like. But also check the settings on your software. I bet you there's a way there to do it.
Thank you. And here's just a tech tip from Debbie, who says she has two portable monitors, a 17-inch and a 15-inch, and they have foldable covers, so they can be the stands that support her while she's on the go traveling. And
that's great. Excellent. Thank you.
Love that tip, Debbie. Another one from Sarah: best software for listing all relationships between two persons, not just most direct. A fellow genealogist I've connected with has researched a village in Switzerland extensively that has a lot of pedigree collapse and recommends FTM. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think I like Ancestry Online. I don't use apps as much because of my vision problems. I can't have a little thing on the phone. And I also like Legacy. Usually they're very good. I remember that we used to have this chart to calculate cousin relationships, and you had to go this way and this way, and it was crazy. And in a way now, it's like favorites on your call. You put someone in and you forget their phone number. Sometimes I think, oh, it'd be better if I knew how to do it, but I rely upon the software. I like MyHeritage too, and the reason is MyHeritage does a lot of European research, especially Ashkenazi communities, which are endogamous and prone to pedigree collapse. I come from upstate New York in Ulster County, where all the Huguenots married 7 different families, and that was it. They were up in the mountains. And so, yeah, so I think that MyHeritage is a good one for that as well.
Great, thank you. Okay, question from Nikki. Oh, just comment. FTM 2019 just updated. I've had that and Ancestry since 1990, before Family Search. Family Search is from.
I've been doing this so long. I went to Ancestry the other day, and it says that I joined in 1899. I think that's an error. No. I told Ellen I'm so old, my birthstone is lava, but that's pushing it a bit. Yeah.
Nonsense. That's great. And Sarah offered her link to the screen attachment she has, which I'm going to click on that. Right. Great. A comment here: MyHeritage has limited the number down now. Oh, not 250 anymore.
Oh, okay.
Does anyone know? Audrey, do you know?
I thought it was 200. I can check with them.
I'm curious.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question. And so one of the other questions that we got written into editor Artifacts was a question about the privacy policies and shifts in those. And do you see a trend that is worrisome, or do you think that they're all kind of equal? Is there something they should be aware of?
They're not equal. The first thing I do is, if you don't know Google Alerts, am I sharing my screen or not still?
You are not right now.
Okay, if I can, let me go ahead and do this, and I will, hold on.
I'm still powerless. You're still powerful.
That's fine. That's fine. Again, I will use it for good and not evil. The thing is, I'm a big fan of Google Alerts. And so let's see here. Oh, I don't want to show my email, guys. There we go. Here we are. Alerts. Google Alerts. If you don't know it, it's a way for Google to update you when there's new information. So here, what I would do is if it was Ancestry, and I'm not going to rely, you have to spell it right. So Ancestry privacy policy.
only artifacts that you get to spell wrong and come to us.
That's right. That's right. And someone questioned, they said, did you spell it wrong? I said, no, that was deliberate because it makes it memorable. It makes it memorable.
That's
so let's say,
why.
yeah, well, in a way.
I'm glad it got them talking.
Okay. So here, ancestry privacy policy. So it will notify me once a day via email if there's anything out on the web new about their privacy policy. That's what I do. I don't wait for them to alert me. And I even go, so you want to know how much a nerd I am on this, Ellen? I take the old privacy policy, save it in Word. I take the new one, save it in Word, and I do a comparison, a red light comparison in Word to see what they change, because I'm not going to trust them to point out what the changes are.
Yep.
So the only one that I want to caution you about in terms of DNA is family tree DNA. They have an opt-out on law enforcement sharing, which I think personally I did disagree with. If I want to share it with law enforcement, I should be able to opt in. They make the assumption that you give them permission. And it depends on your personal preference. I'm going to stop my share here. So let's see, maybe if you take over, that'd be better. So the thing is, I would caution you with family tree. What's that?
I think you have to make me powerful.
Oh, I do. Yeah, hold on. Oh, so sorry about that.
Fun with Zoom.
Yeah. So participants, let's see, make host. There you go. Perfect. You got it. So for family tree DNA, that's the one thing I disagree with. If I want to share it with law enforcement, remember, in terms of US and a search warrant, it used to be search warrants are very specific, a place and a person, but your DNA connects to all these other people. Have you gotten permission from them? So that's the one, but you have to stay on top of the terms and conditions and the privacy policy. I would set up a Google alert so that you're alerted and put in the name of the company and then space privacy policy in quotes and have it update you. You can have it update you instantly, which I don't recommend. You can get bombarded with a lot, but do once a week is a good way to do it.
I made the instant alert mistake once. You don't do it again.
No, especially for genealogy. Oh my gosh, yeah.
You learn really fast not to set the instant. Audrey did update. She said that on the Facebook group that there was posted an email came out from Heritage that it'll be going down to 100.
Oh, okay. I will ask. I wasn't notified. See, that's one of those things where I didn't know. And sometimes it's what do I not know? How do you know what you don't know? So right. I like the whole idea on alerts. Not everyone is on Facebook, and I know that. And so I try and honor that as well in terms of all my channels. And you'll get a PDF, a link to a PDF, and you'll post ways to connect with me, Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or Pinterest. I need a Pintervention is what my family says. So yeah.
I'm actually going to tag on to that last post.
Sure.
With your links to how to connect with you, since you just mentioned it.
That'd be great.
About the chat, it makes me so sad. Chat's part of my favorite part of these webinars. I'm going to just tag it, folks, onto Audrey's so that you have how to connect.
Yeah.
Thomas.
But also, I think I have a link. I have a link on my last slide when we finish up. So
perfect. So we'll put that there. Sarah commented, the privacy policy can be frustrating. Genealogist from Switzerland said, I only have a legal right to my direct descendant info, but he can access my family information. That's an interesting twist. The community family tree on GeneaNet includes all persons, but frustrating. I have to replicate info he's been working on.
GeneaNet is out of France, and GeneaNet is great, and I believe that Ancestry bought them out. So GeneaNet is something that's great. I love it. But you have to understand that there was a time when you couldn't even bring a DNA test kit into France. Customs would confiscate it, treating it as a medical device. People in Poland couldn't buy a DNA test. So don't assume that just because it's perfect in the US in terms of what you can do, that people outside the US have the same abilities.
But that's wild to think that she would have to replicate all of that data.
Yeah, I know.
I think that's terrifying to imagine. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions coming in from the audience? Let's see. Or stick up your hand. Oh, we can't do that either. This is
if you want, I can show my final slides. If
yes,
you want to
please don't we go to there.
Well, make me host.
I'm gonna make you host once again.
Yes. This has been fun. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it.
Oh, so it is great. Here we go, folks.
Okay, great. I'm going to go ahead and do this and share and go over to my.
Maybe I'll just stick to my own technology where I have no problems.
So going forward, I want you to know that I'm invested in your success. When you're successful, that makes me happy. I don't come from a point of scarcity. Ellen knows my abundance model. I'm a big believer in that you can't hold on to knowledge. You have to have your palm open to accept the next good thing coming your way. And you get it back 10 times, folks. So you can always email me. I do answer my emails, but with an average of 300 to 400 a day, it might take me 48 hours to get back to you. And also, this is the link if you want to take a screen capture of this, or you want to hold up your iPhone. I should have had a QR code here. But the thing is, this is the ways to connect with me. I run different groups on Facebook. I run the Genealogy Do-Over with 21,000 members. If you want to do a do-over for your years of genealogy research, I run Thomas's Treehouse of Genealogy.
Thomas, what is a do-over? Pause for folks that might not know what that means.
Well, a do-over is not, it's I'm not saying that you get rid of everything, but the thing is, when I started 45 years ago, before the internet, before the computer, paper and pencil, I have a lot of information that's not sourced. Genealogy, family history without source citations is mythology. And so I decided I'm going to walk the walk. I'm going to start over. So I put everything aside. I did not get rid of anything. I put it aside and I started with myself. I did a brain dump of what I remember, stories and information. Then I worked my way up to my parents, my grandparents. Then I went sideways to my mother's, 11 siblings, my father's 4 siblings. And I did it the right way. I did evidence evaluation. I did source citations. So instead of having this monster 8,000 person family tree, I wound up with one that's about 1,000 people, but every person is solid in terms of their information. So that's what the Genealogy Do-Over is. And you can find that
robust do-over kind of concept. I had an author reach out to me, and I'm now an official DAR member because of her robust research. It took them, they said I was like a world record how fast they got me in because. Yeah,
exactly. There's also a version of it called the go-over. If you want to just review your information and do it right, there's a version of it called the Genealogy Go-Over. The other thing is the Treehouse, Genealogy Treehouse is a fun thing. Like I'll post things like, do you remember when the Slinky came out? Do you remember when the game, the Mystery Date came out? It's that whole baby boomer. But the key is, Ellen, it's more than just chatting about this. I want you to write down that story and get it in fixed format. Make an artifact out of it. Remember the first time you got a Barbie doll. What was it like? When was it? These are things that that's part of that legacy that you're going to pass on.
It's a funny example. One of the first things my mother artifacted was she has an original Barbie doll with the black and white stripes.
Oh my
in the box with the dress. And it was the euphoria, the excitement of like, they didn't get a lot of that. She was one of 7 kids, in the Chicago area. And this is exciting.
My favorite was the spirograph. The spirograph was my favorite toy, that and Light Bright. But I had a habit of being a troublemaker and spelling out dirty words on Light Bright. So my mother took that away right away. But the thing is, I love spirograph, but it's more than just, if it stays up here, there's a West African proverb that says, when an elder dies, it's like burning down a library. I mean, these stories have to get down in some fixed format, audio or written or artifact or whatever, so that you can control the privacy and the sharing, but it's got to get down out of your brain.
Exactly. And we do have one more question that popped up, and sure. I will take a stab at one part of this answer, but I do want to say, the question was, if I'm older and I'm struggling with the technology innovations, I'd like to have a technology consultant. Thomas, who would you say to have consult with them on technology?
That's a difficult one because I just don't do consultations anymore. I would love to, but my time is at a premium. You know what? Public libraries now have these create spaces. They have scanners, they have negatives, they have tech people. If you go to your public library, you can walk in and scan photos. You can send slides and negatives. They have 3D printers. I would go to your public library. Or I would go to your closest library that has a genealogy center. We're blessed here in Chicago. It has Newberry Library, things like that. But I would start with your public library. I would not recommend Geek Squad. I would not recommend Best Buy because they sell. They're after sales. Keep that in mind. Also, go to CNET. Remember, CNET has solid YouTube videos, but what would you say? I think public library is the best thing.
I think public libraries, if you're squarely talking, Catherine, on genealogy, I would start there. They can help orient you with the software. I do some workshops at the Austin Black History Genealogy Center, and they have a great team there to help. But if you're talking about tech in general, and you want to make sure your settings are right, make sure you have the connectivity and the upsyncing that you want, there are other resources such as NeighborForce, as well as Papa Pals, who will help, and they have tech suites that will help as well. And they're specifically geared to the oldest among us, or those who just really hate technology.
But make sure what their motivation is. If they're after selling something, they're going to guide you towards that product. And so AARP is also, they have great resources as well.
Yep. And I've met them through AARP. Artifacts is an AARP Innovation Labs company. And so that's how I hear about a lot of these companies that work in the longevity space. There's a lot of great resources out there. So don't feel like you have to stick with something more commercial like the Best Buys, where they might have that commercial thing that we're talking about. But they do have a lot of options out there. So.
Can you point out to people how to save the chat log? Or wait, it doesn't matter because we don't have a chat log. Sorry.
It doesn't.
Okay. I just realized that.
Like, you just went there.
So what was the second part of her question?
Of whose question? Sorry.
What we just went through. You said you might be able to answer the first part. I thought maybe there were two parts.
Oh, no. So I was going to answer if we're talking more about general technology,
Yes.
the genealogy technology.
Yeah, for genealogy technology, Roots Tech has all of their talks are free until the next Roots Tech in March. It's free to download, it's free to view. So rootstech.org, and that might do a search, and also the Family Search Wiki. Just go to familysearch.org. You might have to set up an account, but they have a wiki with over 100,000 articles, and a lot of it deals with technology. But also if you belong to a society, ask at the society. If you belong to a group, a Facebook group with genealogy, use it as your hive mind. Just say, has anyone, can you recommend a slide scanner? Can you recommend this or that? I mean, you want to talk to people that are not selling and that have experience. I always say that, what is it? When you make a recommendation, when you give advice, it's autobiographical. Advice is always autobiographical. It's your experience, and that's what I go for.
Yeah. And I do think too, I was really glad that in your presentation, you talked about the scanner device that is available on Amazon. And the reason is, I do work with a lot of folks who do archival services for individuals. What I like about finding someone that's local for those services is I don't have to worry about shipping it off and wondering what's going to happen. Right. And I will pop into the chat somehow an article about that, because there's a lot of fine print with some of the big box places that really disturbs me. Be aware of what they're getting into.
The thing is, with the big box, they do a rapid scan, they send it overseas. I don't want my stuff scanned in Jamaica or someplace. The only one that I trust is Larson Digital out of Salt Lake, because they do stuff for NASA. They've been around for 30 years. I have a discount with them. I trust them. They will they will do 5 free photo scans. You send in the photos, they'll send the photos back and a digital download as a test. They're solid, they're upfront. The other thing is, this is what I'd love to see. I think there's a company, but they never got off the ground, called Scangaroo. It's like a food truck for scanning. They come to your house, they park outside, and they scan. Wouldn't that be great?
Well, I do know a company that helps with downsizing and home clear outs that will be launching this fall.
But I think a food truck, a genealogy food truck would be perfect. You come, we have it for dog grooming. Why can't we, right? It parks out in front of your house, and they scan everything while you're there, and they give it back to you. That would be great.
Yes, exactly. That is something I just caution about people about. Like, if you are working with those, think about the hands-on nature. A scanner like that. And even, when I was at Roots Tech, I was impressed. I went to the presentation for MyHeritage, and they have the new software where you take a photo of your photo album.
Yes.
And it will slice up each of the photos into its own photo file.
Yeah, that's what Epson Scanner does. Yes.
And which is what you pointed out with the Epson Scanner. Yeah. Right. So that is beautiful. Claire did ask, okay, last question, swear. You talked about that. The Epson 600 can scan multiple page PDF. Yeah. Is this something in the settings? Is it easy to choose?
It's a default setting. It's a default setting. It senses that you have more than one photo. And so if you didn't want that.
Documents.
Documents. What about it?
Multiple page PDF.
Yeah, usually that is going to be in the settings. I won't say that it's a default. You know, the thing is, a lot of people don't like them all in one, because then if someone wants to separate it, sometimes you have to have full-blown Adobe Acrobat, or you go to there's something called PDF Scan and Merge, SAM, which is open source. A lot of people don't know how to handle open source. So first thing is, when I install new products, I go right to the settings. I don't make the assumption that they think they know what I want.
Yep.
That's what you do. That's what I do with also, you know, any update to software. Look at what happened to us today with Zoom, right? Go ahead and check your settings.
We even tried, folks, during the pre. We tried.
We did. It
just wasn't cooperating.
Yeah.
All right, Thomas, we're at the top of the hour. I'm going to post a few links for folks into the chat. So you're going to have all the ways to contact Thomas.
But also like Artifacts on Facebook. You guys don't have enough likes as far as I'm concerned. So remember, it's Artifacts, ARTIFCTS.
That's right. We're missing the second A. But you know why? I will tell you why. It's actually in our FAQs, because we got asked so many times. We did run into the problem of, like, you know, the trademarking and all that. They don't like Apple. Ever since Apple, they're like, Apple's a thing. Like, stop it.
I know.
But really we're redefining artifacts, right? What you artifact isn't necessarily something of historical significance or tremendous value.
Or tactile.
Yes, it's something that is meaningful to you. And so we really did want to capture people's attention on that. When we went to the Roots Tech conference this year, one of the setup guys said, do we need to get you a new sign? Did we spell it wrong? And it was really funny. We're like, nope, we're good.
It allows you to have a conversation. That's a good conversation starter. Someone's going to say, and when the person said, did you misspell this? I said, no. And, you know,
and off you go. Yeah.
Well, I've had a great time. This has been an honor for me. I really, you know, I love doing this stuff. So people, don't be shy. You can always contact me, and please follow Artifacts on social media.
That would be lovely. And what I'm going to also do is I'm going to go into the bottom here to the last question, because that's the only way I can communicate with you all. And I am going to pop into the chat all of the links that we have. So the first one is how to get in touch with Thomas and his advice on all of the tech that you saw. You're also going to see the checklist that we just published today in honor of today's event with Thomas, Artifacts checklist of things to artifact that relate to your family history research. As well, since we talked about photo negatives and VHS tapes a little bit, I wanted to share with you an article I wrote about my experience with it, because it wasn't very pleasant. So I am going to hit send, and there it is. And
I also do want to mention National DNA Day is April 25th, and I have an upcoming article on, is DNA test results, can you treat that as an artifact?
That's right.
Yes.
So stay tuned. And if you enjoyed tonight and want to jump in next week, we're going to be dealing with photos, which is very closely related to a lot of genealogy research. If you didn't grab the links, go to the answered in the Q&A, and it's right there. You have all 4 links. Everyone, it's been a pleasure. Thomas, thank you.
Good night, everyone. Okay, bye-bye.